Sue Moroney.
Well, thank you, Mr Speaker, and that was indeed a brief call from the Minister in charge on the third reading of a bill, but I think that probably shows a little bit of the disregard with which this bill has actually been put forward by the government, and it's not surprising really, because it is a bill that makes busy work, really. It does some things that we've got all the way to the third reading on this bill, and we're yet to hear some examples of why it's important that these loopholes be closed. The Labour Party does support the closing of these loopholes, but we're still unconvinced that anyone's ever used these loopholes. We're still yet to see the evidence that that's happened. Nonetheless, it's been an important occasion on which to be able to talk about some of the issues that might drive people to look for loopholes because of their personal circumstances. But Mr Speaker, before I get on to the substance of that, can I just take the opportunity to welcome Christopher Bishop back to Parliament and to congratulate him on his special skills. It really does, it's something quite special to turn a 9,000 majority into a 4,000 odd loss, but those are the sort of special skills.
Order. Reluctant as I am going to ask the member to come back to the bill.
And now I will.
Baby Maestro.
And now I will come back to the bill, of course, Mr Speaker, and thank you for that guidance. Mr Speaker, this bill, when it went through Select Committee, and I regret that I wasn't on the Select Committee at the time, did though give people an opportunity to talk about some of the circumstances that might lead people to look for such loopholes. One of the loopholes that has been closed off by this bill is the ability for students to claim both the work and income accommodation supplement instead of the student allowances in instances where that might be more generous. And I think that in itself kind of begs the question, Mr Speaker, that if the work and income accommodation supplement may in some cases be more generous than the student allowance for students, then I think that describes the very tough circumstances that some students actually find themselves in. And in fact, when the two submissions came in front of the Select Committee, and the Minister speaking in proposing this bill did make mention of those two submissions, but what she admitted to say was that the reasons why the issues they had brought before the Select Committee were ruled out of scope of this bill were that in fact they were there to tell the Select Committee that the student allowance has flatlined under this government, and that meant that many students were living in situations of hardship. And so closing off this loophole that we're not sure anyone's ever used might have been actually some advantage to students because of the very difficult situation they find themselves in, not being supported to undertake their studies by the current government as the bill doesn't do that, but as this current government has put those students in that position. Their submissions were ruled out of scope by the Select Committee, quite rightly, but nonetheless they were raising important issues. Mr Speaker, the other issue, the other loophole that the social security, that this bill is designed to close off is, again, something that we're not sure, we've yet to be convinced has ever actually happened, but a loophole which apparently would mean that for people who are being paid ACC compensation by way of a third-party provider, or we sometimes call them partnership employers or approved employers, rather than directly by ACC themselves, that apparently there was a loophole that meant that they could also claim a benefit from work and income as well as getting an ACC payment from a third-party insurer or a partnership employer. So clearly that was not the intention of the law, and so therefore Labor does support that particular loophole also being closed. But I do want to take the opportunity to ask the government, as we're talking about different rules applying to people getting their ACC payments directly from ACC as opposed to people who are in the partnership program, that it has come to my attention in a Select Committee recently that there is not as much monitoring going on of the partnership program as there is of ACC and their dealings with their clients individually. And it's one thing that I'd like to take the opportunity to ask the government to do, because this bill is showing an inequity in the way partnership employers' payments have been treated in the past, as opposed to payments directly from ACC. So take the opportunity to ask the government to put in some good monitoring processes for the ACC partnership program, so that we can actually assess, we can know more about how those claims are being dealt with. Are they being dealt with equitably, as equitably as dealing with ACC themselves? Are there more claims being turned down? Are there more being approved? Are there more reviews being held? These are things that I think we need to know about when it comes to the partnership program, because it is the part of the ACC program that seems to have less scrutiny on it, and our ACC program is a very, very good one. It's of course not perfect, but internationally it is admired for the sort of support that it does give to people. So, Mr. Speaker, I'm not going to take up too much more time on this bill. I'm pleased that I've made a more substantial contribution than what the Minister was able to make, but just want to lend Labour's support for this bill that is not very substantial, probably won't make a difference to the way anyone is living in New Zealand, but nonetheless, on technical grounds, does close off some loopholes that were unintended. Thank you.